Okay. Hey everyone, it's Mia from Common Ground Food Co-op, and I am joined today by Kathy and Jerry Nash, who are the president and outreach coordinator for Prairie Food Co-op, which is a startup co-op from Lombard, Illinois. Prairie Food Co-op is starting a huge effort to raise $4 million to open its very first location. What's extra special about Kathy and Jerry is that they are actually former Common Ground owners. As former residents of Champaign Urbana, Kathy and Jerry invested in our little food co-op back in 2002 when we were still in the church basement. So in 2009, they moved to Lombard and are among the founding members of Prairie Food Co-op. Here at Common Ground, one of our 4 N's is to strengthen the cooperative movement. So we are rallying behind Prairie Food Co-op right now to help this dream come true, and you can help too. Common Ground is making a donation to Prairie Food Co-op, and we will match every donation made by our owners as well. So Jerry and Kathy, welcome, and thank you for taking time to chat today about your project. Why don't we start by telling us a little bit about Prairie Food Co-op?
Well, first, thank you so much for having us and for your support. It's so exciting. Our mission is similar to yours. It is to support local farmers and food producers and provide a year-round marketplace for them, in addition to supporting our local community and economy. Jerry, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, no, it's just basically we started because, when we moved away from Urbana, we'd been spoiled by Common Ground. I love shopping there, feeling like, you're just shopping at kind of like a community center where you see a lot of your friends, and it didn't seem like shopping. And when we moved up here, we assumed there'd be like 10 co-ops in the Chicago area, and I think literally at that time there were none. I think Dill Pickle was just organizing still. And then, we complained about that for a few years, and then eventually decided to do something about it. And that's when we started organizing.
That's amazing. So how far have you gotten on this? About like how many owners do you have? How far along are you in the process?
Well, we're at year, is it 8, Kathy? I think they blurred together. It's like a third child to us at this point. And yeah, I believe today we are at 1,186 owners.
That's amazing. That's such great progress. Yeah, that's a good time spent for 8 years. So why don't you tell me a little bit about how your ownership at Common Ground inspired your decision to start Prairie Foods?
So it's auspicious in a way, because when I was a student at U of I, before I was an employee at U of I, and as a student, I had no idea Common Ground existed. But when I returned to U of I as an employee, I grew up in Chicago, but then I got hired by U of I, and then Jerry and I moved to Urbana. And I ran into my college roommate while we were living in Urbana for the second time. And she was telling us about this job she had at this funky little co-op. And she invited us to come and visit. And we're like, oh, that sounds so interesting. And this was when it was still in the church basement. And I remember walking in and I was so nervous. I was like, oh my gosh, is this a store? Is it a community? And she gave me a tour, and I fell in love with it. All of the local products and the cute little vegetable section and the bulk, it was so different than any other grocery store I'd ever visited. And it was nice and small, so you could get in and out. And we just started shopping there, and I loved going there and meeting the farmers and the food producers. There was the peanut guy he sold us peanut butter there, and it was in bulk. So he would come and stir it and make sure it was just perfectly presented. And it really changed my relationship. In fact, it created a relationship with food that I didn't have before. And it changed completely how I looked at how we fed our family. And it's very meaningful to have that connection to how your food is produced and to the people who produce it, and really want to support them and support people who are doing things sustainably and organically. And I remember, Jerry and I volunteered at Common Ground for a while too, and I baked cookies, I ran the register, I did stocking. Jerry can tell you the fun about accepting deliveries through the window.
Yeah. But I've heard stories all about that.
It's a special business and a special thing to have in your community, where you can really have an opportunity to support local farmers and food producers in a really meaningful way. And I think a lot of people don't have that connection with their food.
Mhm.
And it changes things and in a really positive way for both personally and the community. I'm sure Jerry would like to speak more about that too, but.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, I think Kathy really, she was the reason I think we first started going there. But then, yeah, when we started going there and started volunteering, yeah, I felt a connection too. And it was nice to kind of shake hands with the grower or the producer of the food that Common Ground sold. And yeah, I remember going into this little side room to go to this window to unload boxes of food. And it was cramped anyway. But it felt like, once again, you're part of a community. And I think, we needed a secret map to find it. It was hidden in the basement of the church. But it felt really special working there. And yeah, I would stir the big things of peanut butter or, everybody had a job. You all chipped in. I loved talking to the shoppers there. It changed my relationship with food too. And we had another connection also. I eventually started working at Strawberry Fields, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yeah.
And I was a baker there, and I eventually became the bakery manager. And I got to know the catering manager there, who I hope it's okay if we drop her name, Jacqueline Hanna, who was a predecessor of yours. She was GM of Common Ground when they literally dragged it from the church basement into the beautiful store it is today. And really that inspired us, even on a bigger level. Like, co-ops can be big, beautiful stores. They can compete with the Jewels, the Schnucks, the Krogers, and that's what we're really embarking on opening. And this year we're hoping we're really going to get our funding and start seeing our beautiful store being built.
Definitely. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I came here in 2017, so I've heard all of the stories about the church basement, and they seem so quirky and quaint. So thanks for sharing that. That's really wonderful. You've kind of touched on this next question, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about what did Common Ground mean to you while you were in the CU area? Why was it significant to you?
Yeah, I think just that relationship that I didn't have prior to that, even though my parents grew a lot of their own food. They had a giant vegetable garden, but we didn't necessarily go beyond that. So we didn't necessarily go beyond just growing our own and trying to find other local food producers. And local food producers go beyond vegetables, right? I mean, in Illinois, we can get a lot of things year round. I don't think people realize that. There's dairy products and meat and other things that can continue to be on our shelves past that growing season. And I've read that only 5% of the food we consume is grown in Illinois. And that's a shame, because Illinois has some of the best, most fertile farmland in the world and has the capacity to grow a lot more of our food here. And even if consumers just shifted a tiny portion of the amount they consume to products that were grown and produced in Illinois, it would inject billions of dollars into our local economy and really help these struggling local food producers and farmers. And I don't know, to me, that's really meaningful. And I know, and you probably can speak to this because you're an operating food co-op during COVID, but in other communities where co-ops exist, those co-ops have been a lifeline during COVID for local farmers and food producers. During summer, some of the farmers markets closed down or they severely limited hours. And that's a really big market for farmers, and that was not accessible this summer. So the fact that a community that had a co-op could keep those, farmers afloat by putting their food on their shelves is quite incredible.
Yeah, that's a really powerful thing to think about when crisis hits, the really positive impact that co-ops can have and the supporting of the local economy. Absolutely. Jerry, did you want to add something?
Yeah, just basically what Kathy said. But plus I do believe in supporting what you love in your community. And if you like things in your community, like we love Prairie Food Co-op, or how we love Common Ground, and we love Prairie Food Co-op too, you nurture them. You put your money where your mouth is. You you support the store, you support the vendors there, and the food tastes better and it's healthier for you. You know, the closer your food is to you, the more nutrient dense it is. And yeah, I just like supporting local businesses.
And I want to add to that too, that I don't know if you guys experienced this in Urbana, maybe not as much, but you know, there's something to be said for the resiliency of the local food system. And I think COVID was the first time we really saw those supply chain issues come into play. When you have very few suppliers, like 5 or 6 supplying the whole country with certain things, and if that supply chain breaks, how do you keep food on the shelves?
Mm-hmm.
And I really think that communities need to start thinking seriously about the resiliency of their local food systems, because we know climate change is here and we're going to continue to see those supply chain disruptions. So the closer you have your food system to your store, the better off you're going to be. And also your risk is spread between hundreds of different local food, you know, producers and suppliers rather than a very few. And I think that that's going to become critically important in the coming years.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that. The final question, we mentioned Common Ground is going to be making a donation to Prairie Food Co-op, and our owners have the opportunity to do the same thing. Then we will match their donation. So if Common Ground owners did make a donation, how or where would you direct their money? How would you see their money used to make this dream come alive?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you. That's so generous. We're so excited to have your support, and we cannot wait till we're open and to be able to do the same, because we're not the only co-op organizing in Illinois. There's so many that are on the cusp of opening, and it's really exciting to see that. So thank you. That's so generous. We really do appreciate this support. Common Ground has been an amazing support system to us since the beginning. So we want to thank you to start off. And secondly, you know, we're still organizing to open. We have a site. We have a premier site. It's when we first started dreaming of this store way back in 2013, there was this empty property that's right downtown. And we kept thinking, how do we locate here? This is a prime piece of real estate, and it was owned by the village. And, you know, it's too expensive for us to purchase and build, but that's where we're going. We've partnered with a developer, and we're going to this dream location. It has all of the characteristics that we could have ever dreamed of. It's accessible. It's across the street from our metro station. It's down the street from our Prairie Path, which is a huge bike path. It's neighborhood friendly. It's got parking. And so I would encourage everyone to go to our website, because we have our rendering there, and it's really beautiful, and we're really proud of that. So the donations would go towards helping us get to opening day. Right now we're planning to launch our community funding program to raise $3.1 million from our community and our owners towards that $4.4 million total that we need to hire staff, to purchase equipment and inventory, and to turn the store that's built for us into a grocery store. And so, the money would go towards all of those things.
Yeah, maybe a few yard signs. Money over the years has gone a lot to marketing, promotion, market studies, feasibility studies. There's always been a place for our money to go, and every donation really, really helps.
Perfect. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Best of luck with raising all of the funds to open Prairie Food Co-op. And to all of the Common Ground owners who are watching, if you feel inspired by Kathy and Jerry's cooperative journey and you want to contribute to our furthering our second end, you can make a donation of any amount through the link in the caption. And Common Ground will direct 100% of your donation plus our donation match to Prairie Food Co-op to help make this dream come true. So thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Okay, I think I stopped recording. We'll see.